Hey, seventh graders. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I hope this slideshow finds you well. Today we'll be talking about commercial farming versus family farming. But before we can do that, we have to get our questions out. Please email me your answers at charlie@cbaldwin.org. So first one is, where was our CNN virtual field trip to yesterday? And then also, can you name the railroad near Houston? So I gave you a pretty good hint in the little slide. So today we're going to talk about farms in Texas. Now, I got to tell you, I have a personal interest in this. I remember as a boy going through places like Waxahachie and Vernon, where my grandparents lived, and when I was younger, going through Rising Star. Texas has a lot of farming, from pecans to fresh fruits like oranges, to corn, and to cotton. And up until recently, and it still may be, Texas was the cotton capital of the world. So we want to talk about the beginning of farming in Texas, and that was basically family farms or subsistence farming. So subsistence farming is when you just grow what you're going to eat. Okay? People loved having their own land, and they loved having their own farm, and they loved having their own gardens. It's only later that people would put out little stands on the side of the road to try to sell the excess that they grew. I don't know if you've ever grown anything, but sometimes you grow a whole lot of it and you don't know what to do with it. So you start giving it to everybody. Now, at first, we didn't have much commercial farming except for cotton. And cotton was such a labor intensive crop. It's not something you can pick with a tractor, that it actually required slaves. But after the Civil War, we don't have slavery, and so commercial farming became more profitable for Texans because of two things. First, because of farm machinery, and secondly, because of the railroads. So it was easier to get your product to market. You weren't selling it at a stand at the end of the road. Large landowners had what we call tenant farmers. So someone like my grandfather might rent his land from you, but in renting the land, he pays you with his crop. So sometimes this worked out, but if you had a year where stuff didn't grow, it didn't work out too well. The other type of farming was called sharecropping. Now, a lot of ex-slaves had to do this because they had no money, they had no property, and so what they did is they went, sometimes working for their old slave owner, living in the same cabins they used to live in, and they would go out and farm for that landowner. Now, the trick was that you had to buy everything from his store. So if it was a new shovel, you had to buy it from him. If it was seed, you had to buy it from him. Even material to make a dress, you had to buy from him. And he kept a record of all that so that when your crop came in, you barely got anything for it. And he got most of it back because he sold you everything. You couldn't go anywhere else to buy it. So even when I was a boy, okay, so this is 1960s, I can remember going through Waxahachie and seeing a lot of people picking cotton. And there were a lot of migrant workers that were down south around the Rio Grande picking fruits, because those items cannot be picked by a machine. They have to be picked by a human being. And that's still true today with the fruits down in the valley. I would remark to my dad a lot of times how terrible this was. And then he relayed to me that when he was a boy, he had to pick cotton. So this type of labor intense harvesting of a crop involved anybody that was really poor. So I just want to tell seventh grade thank you for watching these videos, and I'll have one out for you tomorrow.